Good morning. This is the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting. This is a regular meeting. It is Tuesday, May 9th, 2023. It is 9:21 a.m. This session is set to go until 12:15 today. This is a hybrid meeting. We're at 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110. For public virtual attendance, you may follow along on the Thurston County YouTube channel. I'm Carolina Mejia. I'm the chair of the board. Vice Chair Ty Menzer is excused. He is representing us currently in Washington, D.C. on Puget Sound Day on the Hill. And Commissioner Gary Edwards is joining us via Zoom, and he will be joining us here in the boardroom shortly. Also in the boardroom, we have County Manager Ramiro Travis, Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell, and Assistant County Manager Rob Gelder. And so we'll start off our meeting with our standing item, which is homeless strategies.
Good morning. Excuse me. Good morning, Commissioners. Keely Marino with Public Health and Social Services. I have a brief update for you today. We did hear from a Low Income Housing Institute this morning on the right-of-way meeting with Department of Commerce and other state partners that the meth remediation on what is now being called Maple Court, the hotel that they purchased in Lacey, is complete. So now they're just working on painting and doing some flooring, and they do anticipate being able to start moving people inside at the beginning of June. So it is moving along swiftly. Sounds like it's going pretty smoothly. We've got a code of conduct that we've been working on with them, as well as scope of work and for operations. So we are readying to start moving people in starting the beginning of June, and we'll be starting with the camp at Slater Kenny. One of the larger camps. Other than that, the Regional Housing Council is meeting tomorrow at 4 p.m. If any member of the public would like to attend, you can go to the Thurston County Regional Housing Council website in your search browser, or in your browser search whichever one you prefer to use, and you can register for public comment or just register to attend. And it will be from 4 until 5:30 or 6, depending on the length of the agenda. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, no questions from me, Keely, but County Manager, I know you have a proposal.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. We have been getting weekly homeless strategies updates for maybe just about over a year ago. I think has been extremely helpful. But in order just to make a little more meaty, the report that Keely provides, my recommendation will be to have this update every month. But that's a suggestion that I'd like to propose to the board.
Commissioner Edwards?
Sure. Sounds good to me.
Yeah, and my only thing is I would like to have it next week, just after the Regional Housing Council meeting tomorrow.
Okay, so after next week, we'll target it this update every month. And also, Keely, I will not be able to attend the Regional Housing Council meeting tomorrow. I believe Commissioner Mejia will be in transit, and she might be joining us via Zoom. So I will ask probably David to represent the county tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on our agenda is review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for a meeting of May 9th, 2023. Call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards. We have the approval of the Tuesday, May 9th, 2023 agenda. We have one presentation today, and it's Public Service Recognition Week proclamation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is an item the board has combined all the many different celebrations related to all the many different parts of our Thurston County organization. So this proclamation this afternoon will give the opportunity for you, the board, to say thank you to Thurston County employees for day in, day out for really the uncanny public service they provide to all the residents in Thurston County. There will be some county employees in attendance this afternoon. That will give a good opportunity for a photo op, and as well as a personal say thank you to all the county employees in Thurston County. We have a series of events scheduled for this week. And also we're going to be having an ice cream event in July when the weather is a little bit warm. We had that, an appreciation event for county employees last year. That was a great success. So more details will come when we finalize the details for the ice cream event sometime in July.
Thank you. Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
Nope, sounds good.
Questions for me? We'll move on to opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
I don't have any specific updates this afternoon, Madam Chair.
Okay. We have two consent items, 3A, which is the approval of the voucher list for the week of April 17th.
Yeah, Madam Chair, for your consideration is approving the voucher list for the week of April 17, 2023 for a combined amount of $3,832,487.86. As you may notice, this item is on your consent agenda because we didn't find any expenditures related to the tenant improvements here of the atrium. And I think that's, as we move along, it will be less and less of those expenditures, and eventually this will be an standing consent item.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay. Moving on to item B, a public health, a resolution reclassifying position 40R01619 in Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan and a Thurston County Management and Technical Pay Plan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This request is to have a reclassification of a vacant social services program specialist one to a program manager in the Department of Public Health and Social Services. A little bit of perspective, as I offered last week, this is really in response to make sure that we build enough resources to provide the support to the Regional Housing Council. And you may be missed opportunity.
You guys just can't stand it.
Today, as part of the celebration of, the
It's Twin Day.
it's Twin Day, dress like twins.
Okay, well, we'll be at the meeting.
At the meeting.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, there you go.
Anyway, this item is related to really build enough resources to support the efforts of the Regional Housing Council. The board approved finally an amendment to the Regional Housing Council, and all the jurisdictions involved within that interlocal agreement have signed the interlocal agreement. And really is what the home division within public health and social services prior to this agreement was managing just about $2 million a year. Different grants from the state and the federal government. And with the addition of the home fund and the combined effort with the city of Olympia to combine the home funds has put this division to manage close to $8 million a year. So we just need to build enough resources, and this is the first step to make sure that we build a good, robust organization to support the efforts of the Regional Housing Council to a great extent. So this particular item has a budget impact that goes from $6,646 to $8,300. That will be an impact of $1,654 a month, or a 24.8%. The funding source will be through the many mechanisms of different funding sources that we receive public health and social services to address affordable housing and homelessness in the county. There is not a general fund impact on this particular action.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, no questions for me. Moving on to department items. Item 4A from the Commissioner's Office. Contract to replace Thurston County Meetings Management System.
You briefly reviewed this item last week, Commissioners. And this, again, we have been working on this for quite some time. And in fact, the previous clerk of the board was looking for options as to how we need to upgrade the current system that we utilize to produce the agendas for the Board of County Commissioners, as well as the agenda item summary, which the AIS system. We have been using this InfoPath software, And the support for this particular software ended in 2016. So we have been navigating through all the updates with many different applications. And finally, we get to the point of bringing this item for you. There has been looking into what would be the right fit for the county. And I specifically looking forward to bring at least this portion of the county to the next level. This has a potential impact on the budget over the next 3 years, I believe. There will be is at $220,055.69. The first year, it will be covered by the ending fund balance of the IT reserves, I believe. And the next years will be part of the internal rates, as you are well familiar with that. Jamie, the clerk of the board, is here to elaborate on this item.
Good morning. Thank you. The county manager did a pretty good summary. I don't have much to add outside of what we discussed from last week either. There's not a whole lot of new information. So any questions you have, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thank you. Questions?
No questions, thank you.
No questions from me. Okay. Item 4B, South Sound Military and Communities Partnership Memorandum and Agreement.
The county, Thurston County, is part of the South Sound Military Communities Partnership. This is the SSMCP, and we have been part of the steering committee. And our contributions on an annual basis is $6,500. As the cost of doing business keeps increasing, this MOU in a local agreement increases the participation from the county to $8,500 a month. Last week, we had a good conversation related whether the county should consider be part of the executive committee versus the steering committee. The executive committee membership a year is at close to $70,000, I believe. And right now is the Pierce County, JBLM, Lacey, and the city of Lakewood. I think it has been extremely beneficial to be part of the steering committee. Jenica Machado is attending on our behalf, and she has been a great conduit to make sure the county is part of the decisions, as we appreciate military presence in our area. That's what it's all about in a way. There is a breakfast this Thursday, and I believe Commissioner Edwards is attending. I will be attending as well as Jenica. And this is the annual, twice a year, breakfast with elected officials, which is located on the golf course and the JBLM. And I believe Congresswoman Strickland is on the agenda.
Thank you both. Jenica, anything you would like to add on this matter?
Good morning. No additional items unless there are any questions.
Questions?
Does that need to have a dollar amount?
Because it's an annual, I mean, we can add it
No,
to
you
the,
don't need to. I just want to make sure we get it right. I'm good with you're good.
It's 6,000, right?
8,500.
And for the premium, it's 20. Sorry. Okay, Public Health and Social Services, item 5A, approval of contract amendments for reallocation of PY 2020 CDBG funds.
Yeah, we spent a little time explaining this particular item last week, Madam Chair, Commissioners, and this is related to the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG. There's a yearly allocation to the county, except for the City of Olympia. The City of Olympia have a direct allocation of their CDBG money because they qualified as an urban area. Although based on the population, the city of Lacey qualified last year to be an urban area, but they decided to be part of this regional approach. And the regional approach is we have interlocal agreements that we go, the annual allocation goes on a rotation basis. 1 year goes to the city of Lacey where they determine what elements or what projects they'd like to fund. They move into the city of Tumwater, and the city of Tumwater goes through the same process. In the third year, is the county that works with the South County cities to determine what would be the best allocation for this funding. There's a lot of restrictions. They have to be under, low income parts of the population. So back in 2019, in 2020, the City of Lacey awarded Homes First $210,000 to acquire and rehabilitate affordable rental housing in Lacey. Home First has determined since that they like to construct 2 ADUs in Lacey in one of their properties. And the ADUs are not a qualifiable activity under CDBG. So that left just about $107,000 that need to be reallocated. We had a conversation with the City of Lacey. They don't have on a particular project. So the proposal before you is to take the $107,000 and reallocate to 2 South County projects. $30,000 will go to the Haas Field improvements, and $128,410 will go to the City of Tenina for the quarry pool. Last week, you asked what elements did we build in the initial allocation of the Haas Field. What we did with that improvement, about $79,000, we upgraded all the fields to make it, to host events such as soccer and any other sport events. So the additional $30,000 will be to resurface with a gravel material on the parking lots the Haas Fields needed. So that will be the intent of this additional funding. And also the $128,410.08 to the quarry pole, that will probably mitigate the gap of this particular project because they have seen construction costs increases in the last couple of years. So that is the long story on this particular item. It's just that the redistribution that the City of Lacey couldn't have during the 2020 allocation to South County projects. Alex, anything to add?
Yeah, thank you, County Manager. I would just like to add that we're planning on reallocating $77,000 to Tenina Quarry House.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to call that out. And they are going to be able to do a few more renovations to the house, like adding a railing to the outside stage and repairing some of the rotting siding on the quarry house, as well as fill some of the gap of their overages. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Adams?
No questions, thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you. Okay, moving on to item 5B, approval of contract amendments for program management and direct client services related to the Law Enforcement Assisted Diversion Program.
So I'm going to pause a little bit here and give you a little bit of background related to this particular matter. As you're well aware, the county received a grant from the state to implement the LEAD program. That's the Law Enforcement Diversion Program. That started just about in 2020, and so far has been extremely successful. And everything is funded by this grant from the state, and this is on a trial basis. So here recently, we had a change in the staffing related to this particular program in public health social services, which gave us the opportunity to identify a couple of gaps within that process. One of which, it was the contract that we have with the Thurston Behavioral Health Organization, as well as with Olympic Health and Recovery Services. That particular contract lapsed back in December 2021. And this amendment just bring it back to up to date because they have continued to support this LEAD program. And again, this has been a couple of the gaps that we have identified as a result of the transition in staff. So this item is for the board to consider extending the existing contract with the Thurston Behavioral Health Organization and the Olympic Health and Recovery Services from December 31st, 2021 to June 30th, 2023, by the end of next month. After June 30, 2023, there will be an additional grant with the state, and at that point will give us the opportunity to reassess the contract that we have with both organizations. The result of this process, we have taken the administration of the LEAD program out of Public Health and Social Services, and the administration is going to be led by Leah Landon, which is sitting here today. So here's an opportunity to, always for us to do a much better job as we move along. I believe the LEAD program has been extremely successful. And again, this item is just to bring us up to date on the contract, and that will coincide with the end of the existing grant, which is June 30th, 2023. The whole team is in Zoom as well as in the boardroom. If you have any questions, we're here to answer those. I hope my explanation makes sense.
So this item is new, because I don't remember this being on last week. Commissioner Edwards.
Well, that was my question. Okay, it's new. Is there a time element that we're addressing right now? Is that why it wasn't on
Yeah,
last week?
because we've been a little bit behind this contract for a few months.
When did we actually start the LEAD program?
I believe we started in 2020. Do you have the specific date?
The program I know officially launched in July 2021.
Okay.
But we were working on it up
Right.
till then. I
Yes.
can remember some people came from back east or something that were gonna help us fund it.
Right.
What will change when we change oversight?
So what I think what will change will give us the opportunity to be a little more proactive in how we submit the monthly reports to the state in order for us to receive the grant. And that is one of those requirements that perhaps we have not been able to meet in the last few months, among the many. So the administration of the LEAD program, we're going to create that a little bit of a better umbrella, but also the program management will continue to be part of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, which manages the program. In the Olympic Health and Recovery Services, they provide the case management to those individuals involved within the program.
Will there be any changes for the officers that are on the street trying to implement this in lieu of incarceration? So like, was the sheriff's office involved? I mean, that's our main entity involved in.
Yeah, the sheriff's office has been involved and has been supportive of the LEAD program, as well as the other local law enforcement jurisdictions. There is monthly meetings that everybody has the opportunity to provide a perspective. And I think there is an opportunity to continue this effort under the LEAD program. There is opportunities to increase the law enforcement referrals. But overall, I believe the LEAD program itself has been extremely successful. I can't remember the numbers of referrals that we have gotten so far.
They've had, I believe, over 300 referrals at this point since the program launched, and those have continued to increase and become more regular. Between 1 and 2 referrals a day, I believe, is the current number.
And I would guess most of those ended up in alleviating a jail overcrowding situation, or at least individuals being placed in jail. Is that right?
Yeah, to a great extent, that is the case.
Right,
I mean,
most of them,
because we engaged those individuals that either were in the process to go to jail, or perhaps the next steps would have been in the same spot. So, and that really is the main goal and objective of this LEAD program. And just to be clear, the administration of the LEAD program Leah is gonna lead, is gonna require a team. Public Health will continue to provide the data support, as well as the financial support, management of the grant. I think it is a good opportunity to create a larger umbrella to manage this program.
Any dollar amount changes? or
No,
anything?
it's the same. So is the yearly event, is the yearly $200,000 to the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization, and $800,000 to the Olympic Health and Recovery Services. And again, All is covered by the grant. There is
Yeah.
no general fund or county funds. on this.
Thank you. That's it for me, man.
Okay, so basically, we're just changing kind of who's gonna be submitting the reports, but everything else structurally is going to.
Yeah, it's
Remain the
not gonna
same.
change. Yeah, moving on to the next contract, which is July 1st, will make clear a little bit of, I think there's an opportunity to tighten the existing contract, and we'll do that as we move along.
Okay. Leah, Katie, David, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, really quick. I wanted to kind of make clear what you guys were actually looking at towards the item. It's to make sure that we actually have a contract in place with the ASO to complete this current contract year. So this gets you to the end of June. And then what the county manager is referring to is our shift in the contract management after June 30th. But just so we're clear, this item is time sensitive because we're trying to make sure this current contract actually gets in place. In the course of the last couple of months since I've been on board, and after the staff person left, we've just discovered that there's a lot of pieces that either have been incomplete or have needed some clarification. And so this is one of those items we noticed that we needed to have an update on.
Thank you.
Is Commissioner Menzer up on all this, or will you bring him up? to
I'll bring it
speed?
up to speed. I touched base with him on this particular item on Friday. I might check
Okay.
in with him.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you ready to move forward with this item today? So then that would conclude our agenda. We do have a Board of Health meeting at 4:30. And, okay. So I'll do
Switching gears.
Okay, Board of Health, there will be, and this will be Vice Chair Williams leading this meeting. There will be an approval of the agenda, an opportunity for the public to address the Board of Health. There's gonna be a proclamation, and it's National Nurses Week proclamation.
Gretchen, go ahead.
Oh, good morning, Gretchen Teller. I'm Division Director, Community Wellness with Public Health and Social Services. And yes, thank you, commissioners, for recognizing National Nurses Week with this proclamation. We will have some of our public health nurses as well as some of the school district nurses joining us this afternoon.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, no questions for me. I look forward to having the nurses here this afternoon. We have a department item, item 4A, which is Thurston County Healthcare System presentation.
Yeah, we presented this last week, but the idea was we wanted the Board of Health to be able to see this presentation that was led by Ben Miller Todd and some of the CEOs of our local health systems to give an update on the sort of state of our health systems here in Thurston County. Board of Commissioners, you've seen this before, but the Board of Health members have not seen this. And we thought it'd be a good opportunity to do that. So we're hoping that today will be fairly straightforward in terms of our agenda. We've got a lot more looking forward to in June, but we're hoping today will be pretty straightforward, the focus on this one.
I believe Commissioner Mejia is going to be sharing a firsthand experience related to one of the elements of their presentation.
Yes, Director Ben Miller Todd arranged a Medic One ride along for me, and so I got to see the impacts of the system firsthand. So renewed, fresh eyes on this item, so I'm really excited to discuss this.
And that's related to the triage elements of the hospital, St. Pierce.
Okay. Questions?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. And then Dr. A will give her report, and then after that, we will adjourn. And that will conclude our agenda items for today. Then next is the review of the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for a meeting of May 16th, 2023. Call the meeting to order at 2 p.m. The Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Vice Chair Menser. Approval of the Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 agenda. An opportunity for the public to address the board and county manager's update.
For next week, I will be highlighting an achievement the auditor's office received from GFOA as an outstanding budget reporting. You will see Auditor Mary Hall as well as Derek Bennett will be part of that. And is, I believe, nothing but remarkable on a yearly basis as we receive the award. And let me read a little more in detail. I thought I had a copy.
This is on the annual accounting award.
Right. So in so many different words, we'll spend a little more time next week when the county auditor is present. And as is really, they're pleased to notify the county of the annual comprehensive financial reporting for the fiscal year that ended in December 31st, 2021.
So,
Because-
sorry. Keep going. I was just gonna ask, is that going to be a presentation that they're gonna come and do?
No, I just would be acknowledged as part of the county manager's report
Oh, okay.
as we receive, awards. And they will be
16
present.
years in a row, the county has received this award.
And that is not an easy fit. I mean, appears to be procedural, but it isn't to a great extent. Similar to the certificate of good practice that Public Works received just last week. May appear to be procedural because we have been successful to receive the same certificates and the same awards every year, but it takes a village to get and maintain that type of reporting to meet the requirements. So that will be part of that, and if there is any public testimony this afternoon that requires a follow-up, I will do so.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. We'll move on to consent items. There's only one, item 3A from the Assessor's Office. A resolution reclassifying position 01R00020 in the Thurston County Pay and Classification Pay Plan.
So this is an item that I'd like to highlight the approach the assessor's office takes on his staff. He hires individuals on a lower classification. Then he makes sure that he provides the right training, he provides the right resources to get the needed certifications. And what it does is build a knowledge in that office to provide the services to the residents of Thurston County. So this action is for you to consider reclassifying a position of a appraiser assistant to a senior appraiser. The assessor's office has gone through that process. They meet all the certifications. And the impact to the budget goes from $4,837 to $6,174 a month. That should be $1,337, so 27% increase. The assessor's office has been he's built his budget to absorb this, so they're not requesting an additional appropriation. And again, I like to give kudos to the assessor's office because that's a good strategy to bring individuals, train them within the county system. And as a result, they will be providing much better benefit to the rural operations of the assessor's office.
Okay. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
That doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna top out at that new rate.
It's just we'll just bring it up. It's just
Some time to build into that.
yeah. When I give you the impact, it's the overall impact when that person reach the top scale.
And then next year it'll be part of our base budget.
That is correct.
Thank you. Okay, department items, items 4A from the auditor's office is approval of the voucher list for the week of April 24th.
For your consideration, Commissioners, to approve the voucher list for the week of April 24, 2023 for a combined amount of $2,811,784.92. It is under the department items, and it's not in the consent agenda because we do have a couple of expenditures related to the improvements, to the tenant improvements here at the atrium.
Thank you. Questions,
No
Commissioner Edwards?
questions, thank you.
Community Planning and Economic Development, item 5A, set a public hearing for the Clements Open Space Tax Program application.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You received a briefing related to this particular application on April 27, 2023. And that was after you received a recommendation from the Planning Commission for you to consider approval in a unanimous basis 8-0 on this particular request. Also, the Planning Commission reviewed this item on a work session on February 15, 2023, and they held a public hearing on March 15, 2023, leading to providing that recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. This particular application was part of the assessor's open space. And the result of the change in activities, they are no longer qualified under the assessor's open space. And as you're aware, the Board of County Commissioners have a program of open space to continue to provide those services. That's really at this point the action for you to consider. We'll revise the action to include the actual address, which is 3000 Pacific Avenue, but you will see that change next week. And Marissa is here to answer any questions.
Anything you would like to add?
No, the county manager has covered this well. I have nothing additional to add. Thank you.
Thank you, Marissa. Okay, questions, Commissioner Edwards?
The dollar amount, maybe, do you have a rough idea of the dollar amount that's gonna shift the burden to surrounding taxpayers? I mean, usually it's just almost, you can't hardly tell, but.
So thank you. Maybe to explain for the public's benefit, what you're stating is when is a tax open space is a reduction for maybe 50% in this case for 4 out of the 5 acres. They will remain open space. That reduction on the property taxes by this case of 50%, that needs to be distributed on the taxing district itself. So all the residents will contribute to that. The impact to all the ratepayers in that district is somewhat at the minimum in the cents per year because it's distributed across the district.
That's fine.
I don't have the specific.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect.
But that is
I wouldn't expect it would. It'll change regularly too. Thank you. No, good enough. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. No questions for me. Okay, moving on to item 6A, information technology, approve renewal of Microsoft Enterprise Agreement.
Here we are again. Commissioners.
I'm gonna probably just be quiet.
This is a 3-year agreement with Microsoft to really pay license and maintenance of all the applications that we use. The county has used and continue to use Microsoft applications that includes Office 365, Outlook, Word, Excel, Access, SharePoint, Visio, Project Management, SharePoint. All that is just a Microsoft environment. And we just need to pay the licenses as we know it. So this particular item is for you to consider renewal of that partnership with Microsoft for the next 3 years. The impact on that is $550,488. And this is already part of the IT internal rates. We're not asking for any budget authority at this point. Is already built on the 2023 budget. So it will be just about 600, with taxes, will be $602,784.92 per year.
Let me ask you this. I guess I will ask one question. Is there any way around this?
Well,
I mean,
there's no.
we're locked into the service.
We're locked into the services. The other option is to go and they come to explore any type of other applications, which we would lose, we lose time, money, and effort.
Yeah.
On
No,
that.
so we use Word, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel. I know my team's in that every day.
I'd
We
look
have
at
major
the email system.
applications built in Excel. SharePoint, our entire intranet is built on SharePoint. You see PowerPoints almost every day. So switching to other software is unthinkable.
Mhm.
So our whole email system is Office 365. This is a necessary cost of doing business.
Thank you.
But I understand you.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but we get a lot for it.
How much has this gone up?
18%.
18%. Okay.
18? Wow.
And that's getting a government discount.
Oh, lucky Thurston County.
Yeah, lucky us. It would have been a 30%.
I was gonna say lucky Thurston County.
600,000.
Yeah, it's just the cost of doing business and it most likely will continue to increase because county employees continue to increase and each employee needs access to the applications to do their business.
That is approximately $462 per employee for email, Word, SharePoint, intranet,
Per year.
Excel, yep, per year. So if you think about it on a per employee basis, it's a bargain.
You divide it by 12 per month, per employee,
Per month, how much is it per month?
per employee. I'm just curious.
$38 a month.
There you go. That's the bang for the buck.
Don't they have Costco deals on the Microsoft? Okay. Cost of doing business. Public Health and Social Services, item 7A, set a public hearing for the 2023 through 2027 HUD Consolidation Plan and the program year 2023 HUD Annual Action Plan.
This is a follow-up to the process of making sure that we have the HUD action plan, taking the necessary steps for the public to provide perspective and feedback. The proposal is for you to set a public hearing, and again, in this action, we will add the actual address of where the public hearing is going to be located, which is 3000 Pacific Avenue, room 110. And where you'll be providing, receiving testimony in the 2023-2027 House and Urban Development Consolidated Plan. That includes the 2023 House and Urban Development, Annual Plan, which I believe is the City of Lacey's turn to go through this process. Alex?
Thank you, County Manager. I have nothing to add, except for the annual action plan will also include home investment partnership grant monies as well.
No questions, thank you.
So you may ask why June 20th, because under the regulation, we need to have a 30-day public comment period. Yeah.
Yes, June 20th, because we are required to have a 30-day comment period, and we have to submit the plan by July 15th, and we know the board won't be meeting in early July, so we're doing it in June.
Thank you.
Are we meeting on June 20th? The only reason I ask is Juneteenth is.
I think that's the last meeting before you go into summer recess. So we need to have that meeting.
Yeah, that's okay.
It was one of the ones that you guys opted to include after
Yep.
the holiday.
Because of the summer recess.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
I think that agenda is gonna be packed.
Okay.
Okay, Public Works, item 8A, resolution adopting rule of assessment for Thurston Management District, number 23.
Here we are, I believe that is the last step in the formation of the Lake Management District for Patterson Lake. With this action, you will adopt a resolution confirming and approving the role assessment for Lake Management District number 23, Patterson Lake. A lot of history, a lot of conversation on this action, and I believe this is the last step, but I would like Tim to confirm this. And after this, I believe it goes to the assessor, to the treasurers to start having the assessment be put in place January 1st, 2024.
Good morning, Commissioners. Yes, that is exactly right. This is the last required statutory step in the creation of the district. And if the board should act on this resolution, our next step would be to create the role and send that off to the assessor.
Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
No questions for me. Thank you. Okay, item B, 8B, resolution and call for sealed bids for 2023 overlay project, CP number 98223.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioner. This item you see just about every 2 years. The Department of Public Works with a staggered plan. One is the chip seal program. It was conducted back in 2022. And you had these conversations about how many miles chip seal was done. In the following year, we have what we call a robust overlay program. And the overlay program really extends the life of any particular roadway for just about 15 years, as opposed to chip seal is less than that. And obviously, it's more expensive. This particular program is estimated to cost $3.5 million for the county, which is a combination of the real estate excise tax the commission set aside, as well as the county road fund. We expect to do the overlay on this particular year on the southeast and northeast quadrants of the county. They probably may include segments of Martin Way, Carpenter Road, Dutterow Road, Meridian Road, 93rd Avenue, and Vale Road, portions of those sections. So the department's requesting for you to authorize call for seal bids, and after that process completed, we'll come back with a contract for you to consider awarding that contract. Steve?
Yeah, thank you. I think you covered everything pretty well. $1 million of the $3.5 million is from the REIT fund if you wanted to break out. Other than that, I don't have anything to add unless you guys have questions.
Thank you. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
Okay, no questions. Thank you. Item 8C, award of master contracts for furnishing a supply of various asphalt materials.
The board authorized going to the call for bids to secure prices for materials the Department of Public Works operations, waterway operations uses to do the regular maintenance of county facilities, roadways. So on April 20, 2023, the department received 4 bids for many various kinds of asphalt materials for road maintenance and any other subsidiary materials they need to conduct their operations. So this particular request is for you to consider approving a master contracts with 4 vendors: Tucci & Sons, Granite Construction, Miles Resources, and Lakeside Industries. And the approach the county has taken for years on this is to secure prices of specific materials as opposed to going out every time that we need those. So at least we secure the supply of those materials on the heavy maintenance season, which is coming up here in the summer. So Mike, would you like to elaborate on this?
Thank you, County Manager. I think you did a great job with that. Good morning, Commissioners. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Mike. Questions, Commissioner Edwards?
No questions, thank you.
No questions. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, item 8D, resolution and call for sealed bids for steel bridge fabrication for Thompson Creek Road Southeast at Thompson Creek Fish Passage Project CP number 63025 and Cooper Road Southwest at Mox Chehalis Creek Culvert Replacement Project CP number 61554.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If you may recall, you have also seen this approach the Polar Works has taken in terms of fish removal barriers here in the county. And it's still a step process. One is to secure the fabrication of bridges or culverts ahead of the actual construction. And this is the exact item. We would like to go ahead and build those structures ahead of time. And when the time is coming for the replacement, they will secure the services of a contractor to just put in place and move forward. And also that this strategy has been extremely beneficial for the county because the improvements that we need to do in a fish barrier construction needs to be within the fish passage, within the fish window, which is a very limited time between, I believe, between June and October that we need to do. So if we were to award the contracts for a fish barrier all at once, the fabrication as well as the installation, it will not be enough time for us to do the work on a yearly basis. It will be a 2-year basis. So this strategy, again, has been extremely successful, and I'd like to applaud Public Works to be inventive on this approach. Marcus.
Thank you, County Manager. Marcus Storvik, Senior Civil Engineer, Public Works. I would just add that you have seen part of this. Originally, we did go out to add for the Thompson Creek Bridge earlier this year, but found that we had no responsive bids just due to longer lead times. So this is us coming back with also adding Cooper to make it more efficient. But we do need to ask for more time from the manufacturers due to longer lead times. So originally we were under the impression that 4 months was necessary. However, when we did go out to bid previously, we did not receive any bids because the lead times are now at 12 months. No further things to add.
So the installation is scheduled for next year?
That is correct. We would have the structures in time for next year.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Can't use a railroad car.
I was waiting for that. Thank you for the
Tell you.
suggestion, Commissioner.
Save the taxpayers a lot of money.
Okay, and we have a public hearing starting at 5 p.m. Community Planning and Economic Development, Shoreline Master Program update.
Yeah, I'm expecting to have significant public engagement on this public hearing related to the Shoreline Master Program. That's what we have it at 5 o'clock. We're gonna make sure that we open those doors here in the boardroom to have an overflow. We'll have the board meeting broadcast on the TV that we'll have here on the hallway, on the atrium itself. So we'll be prepared to have significant public testimony on the week of 16 next week, as this item has created a lot of attention.
And then I want to have a conversation with commissioners to decide the length of public comment that we're going to be. We usually allow 4 minutes. But I think this one's going to be pretty heavy, and so I kind of want some direction from the board, and happy to have this conversation next week when Commissioner Messer is here. But just start thinking about that to give me some feedback on what commissioners are comfortable allowing for public comment for timing.
I don't know where we're going after this, but we're about to wrap up. But I have one question I'd like to bring up. It has to do with Public Service Recognition Week.
Before we move away from this item, The only item they will have for your consideration is to close the public hearing. And we'll have a follow-up briefings depending on the public testimony for you to go through all the public testimony you will receive. And at that point, we'll work with the board to see what the right next steps will be.
More than an hour, right?
More than an hour. It may require a couple of briefings just to go through this.
Thank you. You don't have any more questions about drawing master?
Not on this.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so with that, we'll go back to public service recognition week. Commissioner Edwards.
I guess I'm missing something and I guess I don't see it in here. It's the fire service. And we're recognizing most, everybody else, but we're not recognizing fire service. I believe it was probably just an oversight. And I hate to even bring it up because I don't like to overload staff, but
We could probably add a sentence.
it would be very easy to add it in there, and they are so crucial in our public service, the same as our law enforcement officers.
So, yeah, we can certainly add that. I think the approach we took in this proclamation is Thurston County Employees Recognition Week. And we don't have employees, of fire service, but we can add it.
No, that's true, but we do talk about the police departments
Yep.
and
We'll
things,
add
so
something for this afternoon.
I don't like doing this to Jamie, but
No, it's all on point.
I think it might be worth doing.
Yeah.
I don't know how many of these you have to make up, Jamie. There's just a couple of them, is there? Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
No, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it.
Okay. Well, you jumped on the proclamations and awards section.
Oh, well, the only reason I brought it in now was because we're gonna do it today, apparently, right?
Yeah. Jamie, is there anything else for proclamations and awards? And then let's move on to advisory boards and missions.
So the standing application for the agricultural advisory committee has been included for your review. They're meeting next Thursday, I believe, and I'll follow up with staff contact to get an appointment recommendation at that time, but outside of that, I don't have any further updates.
Perfect. I've never seen this so empty. So I guess
That means the board is doing your job of appointing citizens to the boards.
I want to also thank Jamie for this, because she really got this on track and got applications in front of the board for us to approve. And so thank you, Jamie, for really, this is great. Yeah, okay. PIO check-in. Do you have any questions on that? Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor.
Okay, that was nice and easy. Okay, legislative update.
The governor has called on a special session, and it's very narrow in scope. It is related to Senate Bill 5536. So hopefully they will resolve that at statewide level, the issue related to simple possession. That's really the elements of 5536, whether it's a gross misdemeanor or a simple misdemeanor. But as I explained to the board last week, considering the board the legislature didn't agree on that piece of legislation, internally we're moving forward on a proposal just in case the special session doesn't result on passing this bill as well. And this resolution that we're working with at the regional level with all the jurisdictions to bring some points for consideration for the board related to simple possession.
Can I add something really quick, Commissioner Edwards?
Well, no matter what they do, it's gonna have an impact on our court system.
Absolutely. So if we're moving those parallel tracks, if the legislature approve some sort of new law, which is they need to do that before June 30th. That's when the deadline is. And as we go through the process and considering a local ordinance, then we'll stop. But if the legislature doesn't approve a new law, then we'll bring a proposal to the board. That's what we're working on.
If this change takes place and they do make those adjustments, is there gonna be anything that could be looked at as an unfunded mandate by the state? They're kind of changing the rules to benefit themselves.
So I believe on the governor's proposed budget included some financial elements to implement 5536.
Okay.
I cannot tell
No,
you that
we don't
they
know.
fully encompass that, but that was, I believe, is on the governor's desk to sign. I don't know if he's waiting for this, new law to pass, and then he will approve the budget. But there's some financial elements.
Budget's on a 20-day.
Yeah.
It is always the last bill that the governor signs.
So there is that aspect. I am not here to say that all the elements highlighted on the 5536 are fully covered financially, but there's some funding associated with this new proposed law.
So I appreciate us being proactive and working with the rest of our jurisdictions on drafting up an ordinance just in case. But I'm also wondering if we can send a letter over to our legislators, because there was, I think, a lot of confusion from even our own legislators on where we stood, and not sure if it can be from the Law and Justice Council because it's got more partners across the jurisdiction, or just something like with our request. Since we're already working on an ordinance, I wouldn't think it would be that different to kind of put that into kind of a letter of what we're wanting, not wanting, but what our needs are from that bill specifically.
Absolutely. I can have a draft letter for your consideration.
And I think it would be easier for Deborah as well, as she's lobbying for us, that, she's able to kind of give this letter out and be like, okay, these are where Thurston County stands, and maybe partnering jurisdictions, or not sure what each jurisdiction is going to do. So that's why it was maybe Law and Justice Council would be a better place to have this discussion. But- Okay. It's 10:23. Let's go ahead and take a 15-minute break before
Thank you.
we come back to the rest of the items. Okay, and we're back from break. It is 10:48 a.m. and we left off with briefing, public hearing, decisions pending. And we left off with the childcare proposal from our briefing on April 20th.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners. This is a work in progress that has been before you in a couple of occasions for the last couple of months. Because I believe the board's intent was to how the county can support the childcare needs here in the county. And the board members have been very clear in stating the sense of urgency as well as the childcare crisis here, not just in Thurston County, perhaps the states and across the country. So we have re-engineered this proposal. It was presented to you on April 28th during your planning session. And what it does is can really is in issuing grants to providers to create capacity. And that capacity will be targeted to low-income families here in Thurston County. That is the gist of this proposal. During the planning session, Commissioner Mejia had some conversations related to what we could do to county employees. I believe that's a parallel track that we need to continue to work on that. But at this point, barring any questions, in additional perspective, we'd like for you to take an action on this. But if you prefer the Commissioner Mesa be part of this decision, we can bring that next week as well. But I think he has been supportive of this approach as well.
Can I ask a follow-up? Because I felt Assistant Gelder asked a very good question. And it was in regards to, we're building this capacity now with ARPA funds, but after the funds go away, right, that, it's gonna leave us in this tough situation in terms of, so we're just addressing an issue for a couple of years, really, and then after that, it's, and so I'm just wondering, just from kind of that question that he asked, if, there have been more conversations about this, or is it just aimed at being just a short-term solution?
So I think we already had discussed that. This is essentially a bridge for the childcare providers. Because the payment for the childcare will actually come from Working Connections, which is a state program using federal child care development block grant money. And that will continue with or without the ARPA funds. What this does is allow the providers to
Increase capacity.
address any immediate issues, bring on new staff, and the sustainable nature will be that once they get up and running and fill these slots, the slots will be paid, and so they'll have that ongoing revenue stream to be able to support the increased services.
And Jenica is here available too. As she has been working with the EDC and Thurston Strong to come up with this proposal.
I don't have anything else to add on that, but I'm here for any additional questions.
I guess my a question would be on an individual that was making, I don't know, kind of a decent wage, if you will, and then ends up subtracting a big piece of that income to pay for childcare. Is that being looked at as part of the consideration that once that happens, then they're not doing so good on income? So does it consider that? I don't know how, I haven't actually tried to break it down or anything, but do you see what I'm talking about? If somebody especially a single parent or something that has a pretty decent job, if they didn't have childcare, they'd be pretty high on the hog, so to speak. And with the childcare expense, that puts them down. So where are we setting that threshold? Is there some room for, is there wiggle room in there to take that into consideration?
Perhaps what you're suggesting, Commissioner, is a subsidy to those individuals, and that may not be an allowable cost under ARPA, and that's how we re-engineer this proposal to create capacity. Because the subsidy becomes extremely complicated as to how we're going to be providing subsidy to individual families, and that will be a very difficult program to implement. And there is some parameters within ARPA that doesn't allow us to do that.
Right. So to ensure that we spend the ARPA money only in a eligible manner, this is targeted at families who qualify for Working Connections childcare. That's that state-run program that's paid for with the child care block grant. And that is targeted at low income. It's not poverty level, it's above that on a sliding fee scale. So people have to qualify for Working Connections childcare. And in that way, we know that the families that receive the benefit are in the umbrella of ARPA eligibility, because that is a class that is considered automatically eligible for ARPA benefits. So we had to design it in a way that we knew would be eligible for the funding.
I would.
Go ahead.
I would add, so the proposal includes the idea that the EDC would open up an application period in which childcare businesses would be able to submit their proposal for how they would use the grant funding. And in this, they would need to show that they're prioritizing additional capacity for those Working Connection childcare slots. But that ratio may look different depending on the businesses and their proposal. And so it may not be 100% going towards families within that slot. It might be 80%, 20% people already on their wait list that aren't part of that program. And a more competitive application would be providing higher volume of slots to more families within the subsidy program.
Are we actually the first to get something like this going? Or has somebody else already kind of worked through the?
I know that other jurisdictions have provided childcare in some fashion, but I'm not aware of what the specifics were.
I mean, are we reinventing the wheel is what I'm wondering. And kind of to Commissioner Mejia's question about, is it something we can keep going after ARPA runs out? Is there a mechanism in place to make it work? Or
since we're not paying directly for the childcare itself, that's being paid for by the state. Yeah. I don't know what the county would actually pay for. You could certainly create a program of the county that would support childcare providers to have ongoing awards and pay for that out of your general fund, but we're not specifically paying for slots, because being able to piggyback, if you will, on the state determining eligibility uncomplicates this program tremendously.
I guess I have a follow-up question, and on the meeting on April 28th, we talked about the proposals that were brought forward as well by the sheriff and the EDC and what we discussed. And I guess my hesitance comes from like spending the money now and seeing if there's a possibility that we could be using it for those proposals.
So we did take a very close look at the ARPA rules, and we would tell you that the proposal that would be for county employees only would not qualify for ARPA funding.
But then there was the other option about and I believe that Jenica said she was gonna be looking for a grant for infrastructure, for childcare infrastructure on that.
I'm scheduled for a webinar on the 11th, in which they'll be rolling out more details on that program.
Building 7, is that what you're, okay. And I think we need to continue to look for that option, obviously.
Right, but that too would not be ARPA. That would be whatever that grant source may be.
And so this 2 million, I know that part of it is funding that the EDC had left over. Where is the rest of the funding gonna come through?
You set aside as part of your allocations during the ARPA. There is really an element there for
There's not a set aside
for childcare.
specifically for childcare.
I don't remember there being one. We were gonna remove from different little pots, I remember, but we didn't really have that discussion on which
I
pots.
believe that the plan was to take the million set aside for public health, which they will not be using, and the leftover money from the EDC, put those together to be able to fund this program.
So I'm wondering if we can have this discussion when we have the ARPA discussion, that way we can see the, kind of the breakdown of, and as we're discussing and again, I'm not, I think this is a good proposal. But just trying to see the mechanism of where the funding is gonna come from. You mentioned the public health funding.
Yeah, I believe that briefing is scheduled for next week. Let me double check.
It's on the 18th.
Is foundational public health money eligible for some of this?
There, we'd have to take a look at the specifics of that contract to see if that's one of the things that we could use it for.
Likely it's not, because the statute, when they defined what foundational public health was in statute, it was not really looking at that level of service in the community. It was really about community health and different disease prevention.
Boy, I think this is community health myself, but
So we could look at it, but it is
I
highly
mean, if
unlikely.
it isn't, it isn't, you know, but
Right. Unfortunately, the legislators defined what foundational public health was, and actually, that was a multi-year process to get to that point, that it did involve county representation along with public health providers around the state a number of years ago to get to that definition. But we can look.
we'll wait and talk about it.
So again, I will build the agenda for the ARPA funds next week, which is the May 18th in the afternoon, and including a potential action item for you to consider this.
So we'll be discussing this on
The 18th.
the 18th. Okay, thank you.
I tell you what, when we discussed this on the 18th, could you ask, I don't know, through the department or somewhere, if there is some other example out there already that they're aware of, maybe that this has been.
So
For
I can,
childcare support?
Yeah.
For childcare.
Yeah.
So I can send a note right now to the Wasac ARPA coordinator to ask him to
Oh, okay,
ask
just-
the other counties if any of them are
Just if
doing
anything's, you know, maybe somebody's ahead of us and we can steal their ideas.
Thurston County is ahead of everybody.
Most.
That'd be great.
Totally ahead, yeah. Yeah, Kitsap has danced around the childcare issue. And did a little bit of dabbling during the COVID funding, but obviously that wasn't the same magnitude and it was a very different time.
Yeah.
As opposed to rebuilding the capacity within a community to support mostly moms trying to reenter the workforce again.
Right, and we invested in childcare in that first year using coronavirus relief funds. But they were way more flexible than the Recovery Act.
But it was different though, because the childcare was closed and it was just building enough financials to survive those businesses. That was a different strategy.
That's right.
Yeah, coronavirus.
City of Yelm proposed annexation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ask the team to join us. This is a follow-up conversation that we provided to you. There are 5 different proposed annexations. The annexations are included here and also on your packet. There is a draft memo dated May 2nd for your consideration. There are a couple of annexations that may, I'm not expecting you to take an action today. We'll bring this item next week, but we would like to give you a perspective as to how we have worked in terms of reviewing the proposed applications and perhaps provide recommendations as to how we can revise in coordination with the City of Lacey, in particular 2 proposed annexations. With that in mind.
Great. I'm Joshua Cummings, Director of Community Planning and Economic Development. Today with me, I've got Brett Burris, CPAD Manager, and Matt Unselman. You want to share your title?
Interim County Engineer.
Great, thank you. And so kind of stepping back a little bit, I think that there is some value to relay. We had a conversation about the annexation when it first got brought to the board's attention. Over the past years, I think that staff and CPAD has done a great job of creating a programmatic way of looking at these and not having the Board of County Commissioners caught off guard. So we've had a briefing on this or discussion, and we'll have then another opportunity for a decision-making process next week, as the county manager said. Also, our staff has done a nice job of reaching out to the other departments that may be impacted by annexations, as well as other local jurisdictions, and receiving all of that input. So our superstar staff member on that, Jeremy Davis, is actually not with us here today. He's on a well-deserved vacation at this time, but he will be back next week to have a conversation during the decision-making process for the Board of County Commissioners. And as the county manager said, the first annexation conversation that we'll have is on the Yelm annexation. And Yelm took the opportunity to come up with 5 different locations that they'd like to annex. We have been working, I think, very well with their group on that. 2 of them have an opportunity for discussion. We relayed to the Yelm folks that the Board of County Commissioners has a pretty clear direction to staff to try and eliminate islands when creating new annexations when possible. They've heard that very clearly, and so we are coordinating with them on those 2 areas. The other 3 do exactly as the board requests, the Board of County Commissioners requests, and reduces the islands of the Yelm city limits when they do the annexation process. So there's 3 that don't really require much conversation from our perspective, given they meet the board's intent. And then there's 2 that we could share with you some of the items that we've had with discussions in terms of Yelm and further extending the annexation area, as well as right-of-way conversations with Public Works. So that's the general overview on the Yelm annexation. Any questions or?
No. So I believe the first suggestion from staff is the Yelm Morris Road annexation. In your packet, that's the first one. And if you go back, this is the map. So it's the first, you have it. So.
The first one is in essentially the bottom right corner of the map.
So
what page we going to?
It looks like this.
So
here?
No. Yeah. See that gives you a depiction of that, the annexation. But maybe you can focus on that one.
I'm sure if you have
Are we anticipating there's a problem? Is that what I'm hearing?
No. And I think what Josh is suggesting, if you see the proposed annexation, as a somewhat of a irregular. So the proposal will be to work with the city of Yelm to take that additional corner. So it makes it more of a regular rectangular annexation. That is the first one.
That's correct.
For your consideration.
So essentially, staff at CPIC, Thurston County, and Public Works are working in coordination with the staff at Yelm. They're planning in their Public Works. We all are working to expand that boundary to make a fully logical boundary and not create a new island. But before we go much further, we wanted to make sure the Board of County Commissioners was aware of the work that we're doing in coordination.
So you wanna eliminate that dog leg kind of
Right, so it will be a rectangular proposal.
Is this other area, the open area in here, that's not included in Yelm? This is Yelm, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, this is, talking about this area.
Is he going north?
So that they weren't requesting to annex that area. We're requesting that they do annex that area so that you don't end up with an island in the middle.
Yeah, so you've got this all under control, so it's not gonna happen, right?
Well, we have it in partnership and coordination with Yelm to work to find a way to, I think, has it blue on your map? Is that what you're looking at?
Well, blue here, but this stuff here.
Yes, yep. That's exactly the area that we're all suggesting, us and Yelm, to find a path forward for them to take that in as well.
So the process the board will take, if you agree with this suggestion, is for you, what we call is to invoke jurisdiction. Invoking jurisdiction is for you to allow the boundary review board to go through a formal review of the proposed annexation boundaries, where we will provide a suggestion as to how they can normalize the shape of the annexation.
And we have to go through that process even though everybody agrees?
So that's a good question for our superstar Jeremy Davis when he returns, because we may be able to find a path forward that we don't need to invoke jurisdiction. Those are the exact
Yeah,
steps
that's
that
kind of
we're
what I was
working
thinking.
with the city of Yelm on. Because it's such a good partnership, we may have a different path forward, but we need time to work that through.
I guess the other piece of that is what might affect it is what do the citizens that own those properties feel?
And thus far, that's on Yelm. They're doing their research on that as well.
So they don't know yet.
We don't know what
No,
they know.
yeah, they don't know.
I don't know what they know.
Okay.
And we went through the similar process with an annexation with the city of Lacey, where we coordinated with them to normalize the shape, and it worked out very well. And we avoided invoking jurisdiction because it was a cooperative approach.
Well, one group wanted it, one group didn't want it.
Right.
And it's part of the process. I mean, over the past 5 years, it's been nice to be able to build a programmatic way to engage with the local jurisdictions in a transfer of geography as it's supposed to be done. So
First items for me as a county commissioner.
Was it?
Yeah.
you remember Tumwater did the 12 island eliminations programmatically. We worked with them on that. So this is just an ongoing, I think, a success and progress. And then the second, there's two of them, remember, on that Yelm map. There's the one that we just discussed, and very similar is the second one, which is referred to as the Grove Road annexation. And this is kind of an interesting one. Just, again, this is for your.
You got it.
You can see there's that little block. Maybe you can see it again, not sure what your.
This one?
Yep, yes, I think that does it good. So right north of that, there's a City of Yelm Park. And so when they do that annexation that they're suggesting, Public Works has suggested that they also include the right-of-way that connects that annexation with the park. And then we're also working to take in that whole triangle that could be left. And that one has some complications potentially to it because of the size of that triangle. And it may be a different procedure, but again, we're researching that right now. Again, in partnership with the City of Yelm.
And from a public works perspective, we're doing this so that we don't go City of Yelm, Thurston County, City of Yelm, Thurston County, because when we're plowing roads or we're chip sealing roads, it doesn't make sense to do 100 feet, stop for 100 feet, do another 100 feet.
Thank you. No, I read through the emails that Jeremy sent the sheriff and that Matt was communicating as well. And Jeremy threw me under the bus there. He did say it was my request. It was funny. But just really appreciative of him following up with, I was questioning with Public Works, and last time we reviewed this, I had questions about how it would impact Public Works as well as our emergency services, sheriff's office, and I saw the response here from the sheriff's office as well, and saying that this would benefit them since it would decrease their call area. So that was good to hear from them, and so thank you to Jeremy for following up and Matt as well.
And on this one, no decision is needed until May 22nd. So when we bring it back next week, we'll still be ahead of the curve.
And at that point, Commissioner Mason can be part of that discussion as well.
And what wasn't included was like a map like was included last time. That one, yeah, where it was kind of like a bigger one. No, it's not.
Oh, they include all, you have
Yeah,
extra copies?
yeah. And so just,
This, I can make extra copies.
no, and we don't need it right now. I was able to like grab my previous one from the previous, but just the next briefing, if we could have something like that, because it's easier.
An overall map of all the
Yeah.
annexations, yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be good, even if she can whip that out right now, it's handy.
Commissioner, are you asking about by timing of some way of coding the different annexations over time? Or?
Oh, no, it was, last time they provided, and it's a map, this really comprehensive map of like the areas that they were annexing, and it was like overall, and you could see where the potential islands were gonna be. And so that's how we started this conversation on like, these could be potential islands in the future, and how is this going to impact Public Works, and so that was really helpful instead of just seeing it from one potential small area to the next.
Your packet has very detailed information.
Yes, it does.
We'll lift up and provide the overview again. And then the second annexation, if we're ready to move to the next one, that we just recently received, does not require a decision in either direction until June 9th. So we just got this one, we're researching it. This is from the South Thurston Fire and EMS at Johnson Creek Road. And so we do need to prepare maps and other items for this topic. But again, no deadline until June 9th. So we'll be bringing back more information unless the county manager has more to add.
I'd really like to provide my 2 cents on this proposed annexation. If you go to this map, it's included in your packet. On the next packet.
It's down
Yeah.
here.
So this is the
This one here.
South Thurston Fire?
He moved into the next.
Okay, so this is the South Thurston Fire and EMS, 19248 Creek Road, southeast proposed annexation.
So if they probably go to this map. That is the proposed annexation. They just like to eliminate the island. Because the boundaries of the district, as you can see, is very clear. So my suggestion is for staff not to go through this process.
Okay.
Because it takes a lot of time and effort. It seems very procedural as to eliminate the islands doesn't make sense. Because then, the benefit's there because no other jurisdiction will be able to provide the services. That will be my recommendation in this one, Commissioners.
Yeah, and it looks from the application that, they were notified that their insurance rates could go up because they weren't covered, so I'm in agreement. If there's a simple
One
process.
little tiny spot.
It's a couple acreage. How many acres is it? It's 32.10
I was
acres.
gonna say,
yeah.
it looks like a 40.
So at this point, my recommendation is for the board to do nothing.
I'll relay that to Jeremy. You know, he's very detail oriented, so.
Yeah, I know it. I try to avoid that word.
So, our commissioner,
And we've had no request here. have we?
this is the
Yeah,
request.
This
from-
is the request from the fire district.
Yeah. We haven't had any requests, citizens.
No, I have not received any feedback on that. Commissioner.
Well, I think the property owner is
Yes,
supportive of this.
Supportive of that.
Okay,
Thank you, Commissioner.
thank you. So with that, are there any commissioner items?
One. I mean, I've
Go
got
ahead,
one.
sir.
And maybe the county manager knows about it. Did they get a hold of you from TCOM about this delay on this tower to serve the valley? Have you heard from?
Have not been approached. You
I
have an email?
thought you kind of were, didn't they talk to you about it over there at the retirement for Kurt? There's been this ongoing delay for the longest time. Lenny was gonna.
I
Call
think
you.
I understand. I have not received any additional information from them since. But let me touch base with, right, yeah, there you go.
You do have an update?
Yeah.
I mean, how long's this been going on? Several years, right?
It has, so Brad will provide an update on the permit, but as always, there are two parties involved in applying and providing information. And so there are places at the beginning of the process where during the staffing issues that CPED had, we did create a delay. We are addressing that delay. It is now currently on TCOM and their consultant to provide us information that we've requested to move the permit forward. So this concept that it's still delayed is, I think, left over from a previous experience. Now we're waiting for them to provide information, and that's where it stands currently. Anything to add?
No, that was the summary, thank you.
So we addressed it at the retirement party, like you stated.
I just caught a piece of it over there.
Yep,
too.
exactly.
Could you elaborate as to what the consultant needs to
Yeah,
submit?
what?
Just curious.
So we requested additional information. I do not know every detail
Yeah,
of it, but
high
we
level.
have requested what is needed as a variance application due to a setback requirement from the tower to the property.
Okay, so it's a setback requirement. Okay.
How long has it been going on?
Several
years.
How long has what been going on?
This
That-
whole
that
trying
they
to get
haven't
the
provided
tower.
us the information, or that
Oh, no,
the staff
since
made
it started,
mistakes?
since it started, so it's.
So when the
been
staff
2,
made
3 years?
mistakes previously, it was a couple of months, maybe a year, that the staff was making mistakes, that staff was no longer with us.
Yes, but I mean, the whole process has been going on for a couple of years, right?
Lots of different reasons. I don't know if a couple of years is a great qualifier. We'll look at the timeline if you'd like.
It was quite a topic of discussion at the last
EMS,
TCOM,
EMS council.
and EMS and TCOM.
Oh, really? Let me call the executive director to make sure that are committed to work together to make this to a successful
I don't know
outcome.
what the delays are for sure. It's just.
We do.
Yeah.
We know what they are.
Yep.
Okay, so county manager's gonna follow up with,
That's
is it Wendy?
Wendy.
Wendy,
Okay.
yeah, Wendy Hill.
And then maybe give us an update
Update
on it.
See where we're at, that's
Thank you.
all.
Okay. Any other commissioner items? I don't have
That's
any.
it for me, thank you. I mean, I could go on and on, but I thought we had some other business.
I have,
Hopefully Maria's listening. She needs to be part of the executive session, unless you have commissioner items.
I'm going, but if Maria can join us while we're waiting.
She heard me. She's coming.
Oh. There she is. Is there any update on the meat processing plant study and where we're at on that with Pierce County?
Yes, we should have we're trying to organize a briefing to the board on the findings in June. So we're nearing completion of the study.
Okay, perfect.
I just checked with Jenica on that, so we're working on that.
Perfect, okay. Ready? Okay, so with that, we'll go into closed session for RCW 42.30.140 subsection 4A, collective bargaining sessions, or B, that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining approximately 30 minutes, and commissioners' action may follow. We are back from closed session. It is 12:01 PM. We were in closed session per RCW 42.30.140, subsection 4A, collective bargaining sessions, or B, that portion of a meeting during which the governing body is planning or adopting the strategy or position to be taken by the governing body during the course of any collective bargaining, and no commissioner's action follows this closed session. With that, it is 12:01 and we are adjourned. Thank you.